Hello and welcome to Unknown Unknowns, a podcast about the things that you don't know in business. I'm Pat.
I'm Nick.
And we are today talking to Catherine Batch from Direct Debi?
Direct Debi, a kind of payment system that takes the hassle out of, firstly, chasing up clients for payment. I don't know about you, but I mean, cash flow is the biggest thing when it comes to staying in business, right? I suffer from this continuously to this day. So learning that there was a system in place by Catherine and her team to actually solve that problem, that was a big one for me.
Yeah. I think Direct Debi is a direct debit solution to make sure that you sign your clients up and you get the money on the day they say you'll get the money. And the process around that, I think, is really important to help all of us scale a small business. If from day one I was getting paid when I should have been paid, I would be much bigger than I am now. The other thing we touched on a little bit, I think, in this episode is tokenization and how these processes are all automated, but they are secure. So you and your clients know that your data is protected, which obviously in this day and age with Facebook data breaches and all those sort of things, it's really important to know.
Yeah, it seems obviously to be at the forefront of a lot of people's mind. Again, as a small business owner, not necessarily something I think of. First and foremost, so the fact that a provider has the ability to take care of that problem that you might not even know is an important one. People's data, people's money, a very important kind of consideration. So I think without further ado, I'll jump behind the cameras and enjoy.
Thanks, Patrick.
Look, we had a chat recently around payment systems and how to get paid as a business. And I invited you along, obviously, to chat about that. You have a really interesting business because not a lot of people have a business like yours. I'll probably let you introduce. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. So Direct Debi's been going for about 2 years, and really it's designed to help small business get paid on time. So there are a lot of really complex systems out there in payments and not a lot that really help the small business owner to get paid on time on their terms. So it really, it sets up the engagement so people have a really easy way of paying, and it's designed to make sure that people have the payment piece up front, so people know that they're offering a service, they're expecting payment in a timely manner. So it sets the professionalism behind the service as well. And certainly it's one of those businesses which really does, give the opportunity to extend your branding as well.
Yeah, so Direct Debi is, for clarification then, it's a direct debit payment system set up for, I guess, is it mostly geared around service-based businesses that have, regular deposit amounts that they need from clients and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's both, Patrick. So we've got clients who might have a yoga studio or a gym or a childcare, but it's suitable where they tend to have the same amount on a weekly or monthly basis. But it also works for clients who've got, variable amounts. So they might have, $550 one month, but the next month it could be $750, and that's sort of more the bookkeeping and the accounting services. So they tend to have variable amounts and normally larger amounts and more normally on a monthly basis. So Direct Debi helps those payments flow easier with the system where it actually collects the payment method, whether it's credit card or bank details, and just debits when the trigger date is implemented on the invoice. So it is for a range of businesses and really that capture that small business market within the Australian market.
Yeah. So this is a natural outgrowth for you, obviously, because you worked within the financial system for quite a while, the financial payment side of things, with banks and things like that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, because I think for me, I think for a lot of people also, that area it's super mysterious, you know what I mean? I think I've been sort of, maybe not behind your back a little bit, referring to this as the peel back the curtain interview, because that's a really mysterious area.
Yeah, I think really payments, I always say, is the glue of the banking system, that payments make it all flow, but it is sort of the undervalued piece in the banking system, and it's a piece which is probably, it's a low margin business, so it's around about volume that people then require to really enter it and to get the good services they need. So where I think that disadvantages a small business, because often small businesses won't have huge volume. So by coming under the umbrella of Direct Debi, they can have really good pricing and really good service and have everything that possibly they need for their business without having to develop bespoke systems or having to have huge monthly fees and other fees associated with it. So it really is a standalone product, but certainly I think with the whole banking system, it is designed for bigger companies and bigger solutions, which sometimes are just too big for small businesses.
Right. Yeah. Oftentimes, probably.
Yeah. Although they require an IT manager to implement, where that's the opposite aim of what we do. We make it so simple that a person running the business can do that at the same time.
Okay. Yeah. And talk to me a little bit about the impetus for that, because what was your role within when you were working in the industry? What was your job title essentially? Like, what did you do?
So initially, marketing and PR is my core background, and that led then to completing a master's in IT, and then that led to other product development. So I also always had an interest in the complexity behind some of the systems and businesses I was working for. So completing a master's in IT, then productizing PR Mobi, which is a media training app, was sort of a blend of the two different two different disciplines that I have. But yes, more so working as Director of Product Marketing for TNS, which is one of the big payment service providers and gateways worldwide. But then having that IT knowledge to know what is the best way to roll this out, then has led to the development of the way Direct Debi is rolled out to its customers.
Yeah. Was it like a personal story or something that sort of led to you going, I want to be able to provide that for small business?
Yeah. I think I saw so many women in business, especially, who'd gone into business and gone out of business, not because they were bad at what they did, but because they didn't get paid on time. And it was sort of that hard conversation about asking for money, where the Direct Debi system is designed so people can be assertive in their approach to business and having payment up front. This is how I need to be paid on this day, and these are my payment terms. And I think there's a lot of people who have been able to turn their businesses around by actually having those pieces up front and having them really easy to access and easy to use. I think, seeing people I knew going out of business because they just simply didn't get paid. So they'd offered, services or delivered, products and had actually invested, so much of their time and money and actually didn't get paid at all. Where this solution is designed to be able to take a credit card or a bank account, having BPay, but in a way that, it's really simple to use and people have no reason not to pay.
Right.
So some people don't have the cash up front, and that's when the credit card portal will actually assist the end customer to pay.
Yeah, okay. And talk to me a little bit about, I guess, the compliance side of this as well, because I think as a business owner, that's one of the things we'd be concerned about in these sorts of systems. Can people see all my data and who has access to my bank or etc.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because there is that whole fear factor about people's data being compromised, and this certainly does help the way people have their data stored, so it's an encrypted secure vault. We don't see the card numbers. It's actually then decrypted when it actually takes the payment through the tokenization of it.
So tokenization, which is what, sorry?
So basically a card number is entered into the system, and then it's replaced by another symbol or account number.
Right.
So you know that
like a unique identifier of some description.
It's correct, yeah. Okay. So what payment identifier relates to which client, and that all happens in the back system. But once the information is entered, and it can be entered by the customer, the system can't see it, until it goes to the processing point. So it's a secure environment for people's payment details.
Yeah. So I guess with having a system like Direct Debi, you're sort of the exact type of business that debt collectors don't like, because you're taking away possible customers for them. Yeah,
I mean, certainly it takes the debt collection need away. We still work with clients. We've just launched a debt collection assist.
Really?
So if people do need to have, but it's not on the same. The way we approach debt collection is making sure the end customer is still the customer at the end.
Right.
So yes, they continue to receive the service, but they may need a longer term to actually pay off the amount that they're owing. Where the traditional debt collection service offering, you're unlikely to have that person back as a customer because the extent they actually have to go to between legal letters and other court action to actually get the money, where we take on a different approach. It's about a soft approach to debt collection, and it's more likely to be cleared over small amounts over a longer period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the compliancy side of direct debit and direct payment systems. Obviously, there's going to be some really strict sort of guidelines and back-end systems that run that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, so it's an important point with regards to encryption and security of details. So there's a lot of media coverage about people's cards being compromised and used inappropriately. What we do with Direct Debi is have a system where we've got tokenized data. So the end customer can enter their payment details directly into the portal. So we do not see the full amount till it's processed, the full card details or bank account details. It's processed through the system, and then securely, there's no way of those data points being compromised. And I think it's that surety for the end customer to know that we have that under control as well. We look to, through tokenization and the actual handling of the data is key to our offering as well.
Right.
But certainly it's a very regulated industry, and obviously we follow all the banking practices to ensure that everything's done correctly as well.
Yeah, and by tokenization of the data,
Yep.
what do you mean specifically?
So there's a unique identifier with the tokenization. So there'll be a payer, they'll have payment details attached to that payer, and then they'll know to debit that payer by that debit ID, but it won't be the payment details. The payment details are in the back end and it's tokenized. So a message is sent to the back end to debit, $50 on a weekly basis, and the system will tell the debiting machine basically to debit that amount.
Right.
Yeah.
So sort of like two bits of a puzzle coming together where, no other puzzle piece in the Direct Debit back-end system essentially could match anything but this thing.
Yes. That's right. Yes.
However, you don't know what's on that piece as far as the actual credit details, etc.
So the actual banking details or the credit card details are not exposed. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so obviously that keeps it really secure in that
Yeah.
even if anyone was to be able to peel back the layer, they'd only see that tokenization, which would mean nothing.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Because I imagine that's one of the questions you get regularly about, how secure am I, et cetera, et cetera.
That's right, and I think people are becoming more aware that payment details are like gold. You need to look after them, and people are more conscious about where they're going to share their details as well.
Yeah, of
so
course.
it's giving people the I suppose the peace of mind that we do take data security very seriously, and everything's tokenized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you with, you'd be more or less, your business would be very friendly, I guess, with accountants and things like that. Speaking of cash flow and things like that, that would be one thing that they would love to implement for most of their clients as well.
Yeah, we've got a lot of relationships directly with Institute of Certified Bookkeepers, first class accounts within the Australian environment, because they really love the service. They can see their clients who need it and will refer business to us. So they'll know between on a monthly basis or on an end of year financial year basis who actually needs help with collecting payments. And they'll refer business as well. But certainly from a cash point of view, having that regular payments more often is better from a cash flow and more likely to see the health of the business long term.
Yeah, of course. So let's take it back a little bit out of compliance and things like that. It's a bit heavy, and talk about if I'm a new business or an established business. How do I tell when I'm ready for a payment system like yours? How do I know when to implement that sort of thing? What do I have to have a number of clients, or can I do it from day one? Or
I mean, that's a really interesting question. I often get clients thinking they're too small or the volume's not large enough, and we say to them it's best to start with the payment system on day one because it sets the expectation with the customer base about how payments are going to be collected. And certainly I see businesses, they scale very quickly, so they might have only a handful of customers in the first little while, but then they'll scale, and at which point it's hard to then implement a system where you've got a lot of other systems in the background which have just taken the place, like Excel spreadsheets or other pieces of the puzzle. So it gives you that complete solution on day one.
Right.
And with that, even a very small business will have the branded template. So when people actually go and pay them, they'll actually see a branded logo, and that's through the Simple Invoice portal. So they can have an invoice with their name on it. So there's a lot of really nice little added values for a small business to make them seem a lot bigger on that day one. But certainly we have very large clients as well who are at the other end who are processing, millions of dollars any month. And certainly we assist them in the same way. So it's still the same protocol, collecting money on the scheduled time for the amounts that are required.
Okay, cool. So basically, if you've got clients and you're ready, more or less.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the next question, is the fees. Is there a certain number that I'd probably need to be at regularly? So say that was at least $1,000 a month was coming in or something like that.
Yeah.
Because are the fees prohibitive for something like that, or?
So basically, with the cardholder fee, so if the client is just using a bank account, it's only $1. If they're using a credit card, the merchant service fee is between 1.65% and 2%, and that actually can be passed on to the cardholder.
Right.
BPay is slightly cheaper at 1.25%, so you can actually pass the fees on to the cardholder, so the cardholder can actually choose what payment method they're going to use based on what fees are associated. So it gives the customer choice. Where we do have 50% credit card, 50% bank account generally, depending on what the customers, and if they've got good loyalty programs with their credit cards, sometimes the preference will be to go with a credit card because of the loyalty points. So there's lots of different behaviours within the customer the customer base. So the monthly fee for Direct Debi is $20 per month. And we have special deals from time to time. So certainly that looking at our social media, we offer other deals, but that's sort of the standard rate of $20 per month.
Cool.
Yeah.
So basically, if I'm making $40 a month, I'm ready because I'm getting $20 in.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. That's a great low entry point, obviously.
Yes,
and I think, like you said before, a lot of people wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, and certainly when you look at Xero, we do a Xero integration with payments as well.
Okay.
So if they've got Xero, they can use that. But for small businesses who may not be ready for Xero, we have Simple Invoices, which essentially gives you an online invoice where people can press the Pay Now button. So there's that, very small, the micro business, the small business who've started who may not want an accounting system at that point, who are just doing invoicing, they can have a Pay Now button on the invoice.
What do you think the saved time and even cost is in setting this up off day one versus, I guess as most small business do it on a handshake, do that invoice, or, even have a contract and then have to chase? Yeah,
statistically, it's about, on average, with the client base, they save about $15,000 per year by having an automated payment system. So that, brings in the fact that they're reducing the amount of time spent following up. It's better for their cash flow, but the physicality of somebody, spending, 4 hours per week on this follow-up, plus the I suppose the negative impact of not having money in your bank account to then go and expand your business.
Yeah,
so having the set amount and knowing that you're going to get that amount on a monthly basis or a weekly basis helps businesses plan for the future as well.
Yeah. So obviously that's really important, being able to manage the cash flow with that.
Yes.
We were only speaking to accountant Rob Moore just the other day about how that's one of the make or break things for most small micro businesses, right? My sheet says I should have this much, but it doesn't exist in my bank account.
Yes, yeah. And I think having really a real litmus test for a small business is looking at their bank account and knowing what amount is in it.
Yeah.
And then also knowing they can go into the console and see what's actually going to come in the next week as well.
Yeah.
So that is, I do see a lot of clients who potentially are a little bit blindsided by the financials, but this is a really practical tool, combined with what you're seeing in your bank account, with what's on the radar of what's coming in, is a really good way to ensure that you really are across your cash flow, because I think there is that, sometimes, accounting can seem complex. So having those really easy things to look at, what's in your actual bank account, what's coming in through the Direct Debi console, are really two good things to actually be a great measure of cash flow.
So let's change gears again now and talk about a little bit. We've talked about how that Direct Debi can be a part of that solution for, I guess, systemizing a business, having a procedure to get your money, and things like that. Let's talk about, experience personally. I know I really started changing the way my business operated once I started having systems, and that was as simple as, Monday mornings, I'm checking my portal, or I'm seeing what money's coming in this week and things like that. Do you have experience like that as well? Or?
Yeah, I think there's a temptation when you start a business to actually invest your money and time in the wrong things. So I think it's time and money, and I think people don't put enough value on that time, the time that you're actually, by taking what perceived shortcuts or ways to save money, you're actually wasting a lot of time. So I know when I started my business, I really, the first ever business I started, I decided that I didn't need an accounting package. I was going to save that money, and in the end had Excel spreadsheets and receipts, and was going quite, couldn't really get a handle and was spending actually at least one day a month trying to actually put it all together, where you actually have to go to a system and it does it for you and you get that time back. So I think there's that temptation to think, I'm going to save money for my business by not actually having any of these tools, but introducing tools which actually track your time and track your money will actually save you and save you from forgetting things because you're getting so tired and working 7 days. But it will give you the ability to have a really strong, starting point. Where do you start and how much time you're spending, right through to the end point of, okay, end of financial year, I'm tracking, I've done this, I've actually done this much business, I've got this much money, and I've been able to, have, my Sundays back, which is, for a small business, the temptation to work 7 days is quite strong. But I think if you can look at, businesses and look at the tools that will actually apply, so will actually save you time and money in the end. But I think, I know when I started my business, the temptation to go to Officeworks and physically spend so much money on stationery and stuff, where that money would have been better spent on systems. And you only realise that after, when you've actually, you've got all this, stationery stuff and chairs and all these other things, but those things aren't going to make you money. The efficiency and time saving that actually gives you time back are the things that need to be focused upon.
I guess so you can spend more time at Officeworks and buying fancy stuff once you've got the back end.
That's right, exactly.
Your efficiency set up.
Yes.
So I guess, what are some efficiencies, some things that I guess happened in the early stages of your business that sort of led to that learning? Because I know for me, part of that was just simple, like I was missing deadlines, and deadlines which I'd committed to, I was sure as well I had time to make. And then ultimately, because I focused on the wrong things on the wrong day, that might have been updating the business page on Facebook or something like that. Instead of, Monday mornings or Tuesday afternoons, I make sure I do 3-hour lots within whatever client, etc.
And I think also, no is a powerful word, and I think no should be used more often in a small business startup, because in that starting process, you're likely to say yes to a lot of things which you really should be saying no to or saying later to. And obviously often I find I'm giving myself arbitrary deadlines and not, it's a failure point where you actually don't meet a deadline that you've actually said you could. So I think having the ability to really have those strict protocols around what time and understanding how the real time it takes, but also looking at the business admin side and actually trying to reduce that, because you're not going to make money from it. So anything that you can do to optimize that point will actually help you create the time savings you need to deliver on the customer expectation.
And I guess, that leads me to the next point around customer expectations, and that, when we speak about these direct payment systems, we're thinking a lot about how we're getting our money. And I guess from a Direct Debi side, the customer thinking about how we're getting our money. But, is there a benefit using a payment system like this for my customers particularly?
Yeah, certainly it can make you seem a lot bigger than you are on day one by having a payment system which has got your branding, a simple invoice which has got your branding across it. You start a project, an email goes off, it's beautifully branded with your name and all the information, with a simple pay now button which will go to a payment page which has got branding on it. Those are things which will actually immediately seem like you're not just working outside your back bedroom. You've actually got a business which is viable, and you're investing in things that will ensure that the customer feels that you're on top of it. All the information that you're giving to them is correct. It builds the credibility no end. And I think having the efficiency for the customer, I mean, if they give you their payment details, they can actually have a better experience because they're not actually having to log on and pay their bill once a month or weekly. It actually just debits from that point. So having that, saving them time, but also giving them a unique and seamless experience is key to the other sort of, I suppose, the soft benefits of having a proper system set up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I think I don't think that's considered very often, and I wouldn't have considered it prior to our conversation either. That if I know that the bill will be taken out, then great, I don't have to think about it anymore. And also, I'm not receiving follow-up emails for payment, because as much as I don't like sending them, customers don't like receiving them at the same time, which is why no one likes to send them, right?
Yeah, and I think it's that kind of it's an ugly conversation about you owe me money.
Yeah, of course.
And people don't like it because it becomes uncomfortable. Right. Even if both the parties have delivered the service and the money's in the account, it's just not a conversation people want to have. So by taking that off the table, having a seamless debiting, which is really clear the day it's coming out, there's also the ability for the customer to call and say, can we delay it a day? So there's actually an ability to change the scheduling if they know that it's not going to happen on that day.
Yeah.
So the scheduling behind the system can actually create the better customer experience as well.
Yeah, and even more communication, I suppose, if they're, because prior to, I guess, I know I've had clients before where they're going to pay in a couple of days and they have every intention to pay, but I would have to call them on that payment day to be like, hey, and then it's like, oh yeah, I knew I'd pay it for you Monday.
Yeah, and certainly with Direct Debi we do a text and email follow-up, so customers can choose to have, if the $500 is going out that day, there's a text that goes at a set period before to say, by the way, $250 is coming out of your account tomorrow, just letting you know. So it's a really, a soft reminder that got a chance to change the monies around if they had to.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I'm notoriously bad for that, moving money around when things are happening.
Yes.
I try to take it away from myself in other bank accounts, so I can't waste it.
Yes, and I know, and I think having that prompt reminder that the money's coming out, it is an automatic thing from the console, so the business doesn't need to do anything, but it's making them look like they're caring about their customer, giving them that little reminder that the money's coming out.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I mean, if I can get my money, give someone else a better experience as well, look more polished, I mean, that's a lot more advantages than I would have thought come out of a system like that, rather than just money's in time every day. As big as an advantage that is. That's
exactly. And I think it's that customer experience, is that the 360, it's about making the business feel good, the customer feel good, and the relationships is cemented in the fact that they're happy with how it's working, and there's payment at the right interval to ensure the service or product can be delivered.
Yeah, I sort of feel like it's like you're part of this little revolution as well. Like there's this little big chain, I find, of payment problems. You know what I mean? When you have some clients who can't pay, and then you can't pay someone who you're a client of, and there's this chain of small business sorry emails that must go out on a daily basis around Australia and the world. So we sort of you sort of eliminate that.
Yeah, and just to be the first to be paid is powerful and important. So if your payment as the business could be prioritised, you've got a better chance of success.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. All right, look, let's leave it there. I think we've definitely gone into compliance, out of compliance, we've gone into cash flow. I mean, we've covered a pretty broad spectrum. Look, thank you for coming and sharing that.
Thanks, Patrick.
I didn't know a lot about this before, and I'm glad we had a chat.
Excellent, thank you.